I'm Lena Hassanel and this is Nightline, news making the headlines. Trends of cyber attacks increasing. More than 57 million virus cyber attacks recorded. And Japan to open border after 2 years. Good morning. The trends of cyber attacks are increasing in Malaysia as the threat actors are continuously scanning and immediately adapting to the latest development around the globe. According to US cybersecurity firm Fortinet Malaysia's country manager Dixon Wu, during the first quarter of this year alone, Malaysia recorded a total of 57.8 million virus cyber attacks. Wu said cybercriminals are constantly monitoring very closely what is happening in the real world, which might interest users, and try to put this information into a phishing campaign to get their attention.
After the pandemic, because people are more and more working from home, working from anywhere, that actually increased the cyber attack, because today the attacks is not only at the back end, but it's at the edge everywhere, work from anywhere. But we see that it's more and more increased. And then we see that especially the attack will happen more during the festive season, where people are using their mobile to purchase, using their internet, to purchase things and all that. So especially the festive season, we will be more mindful, especially for all these attacks.
Fortinet, the global leader in broad, integrated and automated cybersecurity solutions, on Tuesday released the Asia findings of the 2022 Cybersecurity Skills Gap Report that revealed the skill shortage in organizations around the continent. The 57.8 million virus attacks this year accounted for 1.14% of the total cyber attacks around the globe, while the number of botnet detection in Malaysia stood at 57.2 million, representing 1.19% of global threats. The exploit detection in the country during the first quarter of this year, meanwhile, saw 3.96 billion attacks, which translated to 0.95% of the total global detections. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob on Tuesday received a courtesy call from key leaders of the Federation of Chinese Associations Malaysia, Huazong, who, among others, shared their views on the economy and current issues. Among those present at the one-hour meeting at Perdana Putra in Putrajaya were Huazong President Tan Sri Goh Tian Chuan, Deputy President Datuk Ong Seng Kek, Vice President Datuk Lam Kwang Yao, Secretary General Datuk Dr. Wong Ait Long, and Treasurer Tan Sri Tan Kien Soon. Founded in 1991, Huazong is a non-governmental organization that brings together 13 Chinese associations and organizations in every state and region in Malaysia. It plays a role in protecting the interests of the Chinese community in issues related to the economy, culture, education, as well as social development. Huazong also mediates communications between the Chinese community and the government and fosters the spirit of unity among the Chinese community through cultural activities. There is an adequate supply of medicines at all government health facilities. The Health Minister gave this assurance on Tuesday. Khairi Jamaluddin said his ministry will continue to monitor to ensure the stock level of medicines at such facilities are sufficient.
Saya telah minta supaya KSU melihat gangguan bekalan ubat-ubatan ini, kalau dia akan berlarutan, apakah strategi kita untuk memastikan dalam jangka masa sederhana dan jangka masa panjang kita sama ada dapat mencari sumber yang baru, sumber pasaran yang baru, ini termasuk negara-negara yang mungkin sebelum ini tidak diterokai, ataupun kita juga bekerjasama rapat dengan industri farmasutikal tempatan untuk memastikan bahawa industri tempatan juga dapat bangunkan rantaian supaya kita tidak terjejas.
The minister spoke to the media after launching World Food Safety Day in Sepang, Selangor. Previously, the media reported that there was a shortage of supplies of medicines and raw materials for pharmaceutical products due to high demand following the post-COVID-19 pandemic and resumption of economic activities. Khairy, however, stressed that the situation was reported to have occurred in private health facilities, including pharmacies. According to him, among feedback received by the ministry during an engagement session with pharmaceutical industry players on June 2nd was shortages in medication for diarrhea, fever, cold, flu, cough, antibiotics and vitamins, especially vitamin C. The issue of recruiting foreign workers from 3 countries, namely Indonesia, Bangladesh and Cambodia, is expected to be resolved soon. Human Resources Minister Datuk Sri M. Saravanan said they are currently in the final stages where certain details are being further refined, and these are pertaining to technical matters, recruitment procedures and the signing of memoranda between the agencies or parties of all countries involved. Datuk Sri Saravanan explained that the process involving workers from Indonesia and Bangladesh has been completed. While for Cambodia, the ministry is in the final stages of finalizing Malaysia's agreement with Cambodia to bring in Muslim maids, adding that it is expected to be resolved during the minister's working trip to the country in July.
Semuanya selesai. Now dia boleh mulakan. Berapa ramai yang masuk? Ikut keperluan lah. Ikut keperluan. Yang penting adalah saya nak zero cost imigran daripada imigran. Jangan pergi collect duit. Majikan yang ingin bawa penerbangan, kos penginapan semua majikan kena tanggung. Apabila mereka collect, negara menghadapi isu forced labour.
Elaborating further, Datuk Sri Saravanan said so far the ministry has received over 200,000 online applications for foreign workers from Indonesia, Bangladesh and Cambodia for various sectors. It was reported that the lack of workers is causing many business premises, including restaurants, from operating 24 hours, despite being able to do so after the country entered the transition to the endemic phase. In this regard, the Human Resource Ministry decided to make some changes in terms of the implementation of the recruitment of foreign workers for employers, including quarantine, standard operating procedures, quotas, training, labour rights and others. Datuk Sri Saravanan was speaking to reporters after presenting 100 laptops to B40 students, a corporate social responsibility program by Talent Corp, aimed at increasing the marketability of graduates and also to bridge the digital divide among low-income earners. The first phase of the MRT Putrajaya line will be open to the public beginning June 16th. The 17.5-kilometre-long Putrajaya MRT line includes 9 new stations, as well as 3 original stations from the Kajang line.
What we are doing now, what we are achieving now, and what is in the pipeline, at the end of the day, there must be a blueprint, there must be a proper planning to make sure that all our investment, government investment in promoting and ready the infrastructure for the public to switch from private to public transport.
The first phase of the line covers Kuasa Damansara, Kampung Selamat, Sungai Buloh, Damansara Damai, Sri Damansara Barat, Sri Damansara Central, Sri Damansara Timur, Metro Prima, Kepong Baru, Jinjang, Sri Delima and Kampung Batu. Of these, 7 stations would have a combined total of more than 2,800 parking bays. 13 new bus routes would also start operating with the new MRT service, covering areas such as Sutra Damansara, Bandar Sri Damansara, Taman Wangsa Permai and Taman Kok Doh, among others. For Phase 2, construction is currently at 98% and is expected to be operational in January 2023, allowing trains to travel the whole line from Kuasa Damansara to Putrajaya Central. HSBC expects the ringgit to stabilize in the second half of the year, reaching towards 4.28 versus the US dollar by year end. According to its Chief Investment Officer, James Cheo, this is in line with the country's solid economic growth, which is expected to expand 5.5% this year.
And we think that the dollar Malaysian ringgit will stabilize in the second half of this year, given that this in the beginning of this first half of this year has been very volatile. And we think that the Malaysian ringgit will stabilize to move towards 4.28 by the end of the year when the market sentiment globally improves.
The ringgit opened at 4.39 against US dollar on Tuesday after hitting 4.4 on May 19th, the lowest rate since March last year. Meanwhile, HSBC expects Bank Negara to increase the OPR by another 50 basis points, ending the year at 2.5%. Last month, it raised the OPR by 25 basis points, its first increase since the pandemic. Johnson survives no confidence vote. News from the foreign front when we return. Back with news from the foreign front. The government of Japan on Tuesday said foreign tourists visiting the country will be required to wear masks, take out private medical insurance, and be chaperoned throughout their stay, as it plans a gradual opening from 2 years of COVID-19 restrictions. According to Japan Tourism Agency, JTA, only visitors on package tours will be allowed in during the first phase of reopening starting from June 10th, adding that travel agency guides accompanying visitors will have to ensure they wear their masks. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has pledged to bring border measures into line with other wealthy nations, as most of the rest of the world opens up from COVID lockdowns. The government has recently begun relaxing mask guidance for the general public, although the coverings are ubiquitous. Japan has imposed some of the strictest border controls in the world over the course of the pandemic, banning the entry of almost all non-residents. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will seek to shore up his position on Tuesday by setting out a raft of new policies to senior ministers after he survived a confidence vote that revealed the scale of the threat to his position. He said following the win, he would now use the meeting to set out his vision for the coming weeks, including new policies to reduce the cost of childcare and to help more people buy their own homes.
I think it's an extremely good, positive, conclusive, decisive result, which enables us to move on, to unite and to focus on delivery. And that is exactly what we're going to do. I've got many more MPs supporting me now than I did in 2019. I'm happy with that. We're going to bash on. We have a huge agenda and we're going to get it done.
Johnson won the vote late on Monday by 211 votes to 148, enough to avoid having to immediately resign, but a larger than anticipated rebellion within his party that leaves him politically wounded and battling to win back the confidence of his colleagues and the general public. His first challenge will be to convince his most senior allies, some of whom would have likely run to replace him if he had been forced out, that he will be able to move on from questions about his leadership. Meanwhile, though the rules of Johnson's Conservative Party mean he is safe from another confidence vote for the next 12 months, those rules could technically be changed if there is enough political will to do so, especially with over 40% of his MPs voting against his leadership.
41% of Tory MPs have tonight said that they have no confidence in Boris Johnson. How can you stand here and say that is a handsome result for Boris Johnson?
Because those 41% that you refer to are equally democratic. They believe in this party, they believe in democracy.
Unfortunately, the issue can't be settled like that. Over a third of the parliamentary party has expressed no confidence in the Prime Minister. A Prime Minister of honour would look at the figures, accept the fact that he has lost the support of a significant proportion of his party and consider his position.
Football, the 2023 Asian Cup qualifiers. National head coach Kim Pan-gon felt his team has the upper hand to clinch a victory over Turkmenistan in their first match of their Group E campaign on Wednesday. Kim said Turkmenistan's lack of competitive matches is an advantage to his side, although based on the world ranking, the Greens is higher at 134th place compared to Harimau Malaya's 154th.
Yeah, it could be an advantage, but they also, have a certain strong point, which many players, stay with the same coach. So, of course, that point is our advantage, but generally we cannot say anything.
Kim also reiterated his target to collect 7 points overall in the qualifying campaign, which sees the Harimau Malaya set to lock horns with Bahrain and Bangladesh on June 11th and 14th respectively. Both clashes will also be played at the National Stadium after the clash with Turkmenistan on Wednesday. For the record, Turkmenistan lost 0-1 to Thailand last month in their first competitive match since June 2021, while Malaysia recorded 3 wins in 4 games this year, most recently a 2-0 win against Hong Kong.
Perjalanan berliku dalam mencipta kejutan. Kelayakan akhir Piala Asia 2023 hanya di TV9 dan Astro 149.
Still on football, the AFC Under-23 Asian Cup. United Arab Emirates claimed their first win of the tournament after beating Tajikistan 2-0. UAE took the lead after 12 minutes when Abdul Aziz Mohammed finished off a fine team move involving 3 players. The Emiratis then had to wait till the 78th minute to secure their victory when the referee awarded them a penalty after Naim Jean Ibrahim Zoda brought down Mansour Said in the box. Mansour Said stepped up and calmly rolled the ball into the net. The result meant Tajikistan are out, while the Emiratis will need to beat Saudi Arabia to progress to the knockout stage. Japan and Saudi Arabia are both on 4 points, while United Arab Emirates are on 3. Still to come, former Prime Minister files application to nullify trial. Don't go away. Welcome back. 4 outstanding Malaysian youths have been accepted to continue their studies at prestigious service academies in the United States and prepare to become future Malaysian military officers. This would be the highest number of cadets accepted from Malaysia since 2017. Edlan Mikyat Ahmad Shamli has been appointed to the U.S. Military Academy at West Point, New York, while Zarif Muhammad Zamrin has been appointed to the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado. Both cadets aged 20 graduated from National Defense University, UPNM. The other 2, Muhammad Danish Imran Zainuddin and Qarin Lokman Savriza, will pursue their training at the renowned U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. Both cadets who turned 18 this year were former Royal Military College students. All of them are the first in their respective families to serve in the military, and they will report for training at their respective academies this month. Chargé d'Affaires of the U.S. Embassy in Kuala Lumpur, Michael Newbill, said 36 Malaysians have graduated from U.S. service academies since 1971.
There are 15 slots at each of the service academies each year. So that's 60 slots total. 69 countries contribute. So I'm imagining that Malaysia is definitely well represented among those. I don't know for sure if it's the most, but it's certainly, Malaysia has historically done very, very well in terms of admissions to the service academies over the years.
Newbill spoke to the media during a send-off ceremony at the U.S. Ambassador's official residence in Kuala Lumpur on Tuesday. He added that there are 5 Malaysian cadets currently undergoing training at U.S. service academies, including 1 in the military academy and 2 each in the Naval and Air Force academies. The selection process is very rigorous and competitive, as candidates are evaluated on their academic performance, physical aptitude, character, and leadership potential.
Like for me and Danish, we are from Royal Military College, so they had to select the candidates that would like to represent our school for these spots. So the selection has been going on even before our SPM examinations, before our trial examinations.
I actually aspired this to become one of the appointees since last year. After like my speech, I said I saw other cadets get the opportunity. So for me, once I got it, I was like, oh, so is this how it feels? You know, it feels quite empty, but at the same time, there's so many emotions. You feel starstruck, but to be honest, I ran around the corridor that day. So yeah, I guess it becomes quite surreal at times, to the point you don't know what to feel.
What I saw was like a huge gun on a gunship, and then it really inspired me to like, you know, what is this for? Where are we going? And then in the end, all throughout my school years, I started to research more and more and more about what I can do for my country in the Navy or in other service academies. And in the end of the day, I chose the Navy because that interested me the most.
When you enter the military, they basically teach you on how, and adaptation is very important because you'll be placed in many tough situations, many of which you might be very unfamiliar with. And so I wouldn't see it as much of a problem because we all have been taught to adapt to unfamiliar environments. So I think we do pretty well over there.
Assistant Chief of Staff, Defence Operation and Training of the Malaysian Armed Forces, Major General Datuk Zaidan Atan, also attended the send-off ceremony. The cadets will undergo a 4-year rigorous training program. An application has been filed at the Federal Court in Kuala Lumpur to nullify the trial involving SRC International Sdn Bhd, where Datuk Seri Muhammad Najib Tun Razak was found guilty of abuse of power, criminal breach of trust and money laundering. The former Prime Minister's lawyer, Tan Sri Muhammad Shafi Abdullah, claimed that there was a conflict of interest involved and thus additional evidence is required. The evidence Datuk Sri Najib's legal team wants to adduce is related to Datuk Nazlan Muhammad Ghazali, the judge who presided over the trial at the High Court.
The reason why this is important is because if the federal court agrees with us, the trial becomes a nullity because it is a breach of the rule against bias. Remember, a judge cannot be biased. That means if there was a real danger of bias because the judge is equipped with knowledge about SRC, about 1MDB, and many other factors that I've just mentioned to you, he should not be hearing the case. He should have just declared, I'm not qualified.
In July 2020, Datuk Sri Najib was found guilty of 7 charges of abuse of power, criminal breach of trust, and money laundering in the SRC International trial. He was sentenced to 12 years in jail and fined 210 million ringgit. The Court of Appeal also upheld the High Court's verdict on December 8, 2021. In the One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB trial, former Second Finance Minister Datuk Seri Ahmad Husni Hanazlah told the Kuala Lumpur High Court on Tuesday that despite his cabinet position then, he was told by then Prime Minister and then First Finance Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Najib Tun Razak to not be involved in the 1MDB matters. testifying as the 20th prosecution witness in the trial over the misappropriation of more than 2 billion ringgit of 1MDB funds, Datuk Sri Husni said he had met with Datuk Sri Najib in mid-2009 at the Prime Minister's office to voice his concern about the setting up of 1MDB. He said he had told Datuk Sri Najib that 1MDB should not be formed without a feasibility study. After 1MDB was established, Datuk Sri Husni said he had received information from Finance Ministry officials of 1MDB's investment via a joint venture with the company Petro Saudi International. He had told Datuk Sri Najib that 1MDB had no experience in the oil industry and that it should be given to Petronas instead. Datuk Sri Husni said, but what Datuk Sri Najib responded to him was that he did not want him to get involved and interfere about 1MDB. He did not comment further after Datuk Sri Najib told him this. The former Prime Minister's 1MDB trial before High Court Judge Datuk Colin Lawrence Securia resumes on Wednesday. As we wrap up Nightline this time around, let's take a look as the Nanjing University arranged for hundreds of drones to perform a mesmerizing light show over the city to celebrate its 120th founding anniversary. And with that, I'm Lena Hassanel. Thank you for watching and stay safe, Malaysia.